Hands
His ankle
from
there,
Nathan,
nice,
big
nice
left
kick.
Here comes Jordan,
Jordy come back with those hands again.
Hey, yo, your boys are back again
Back.
in person as
Yeah,
well.
it's been a minute. It has been a minute since we were in person.
It's good to see you, mate. How are you?
I'm pretty well, thank you. How are you? This weather is fucking miserable.
Yeah. Can you guys hear it?
Excuse my French.
It's absolutely hammering at the moment in Sydney.
Yeah, we have not had really much reprieve from rain in the last, month? 6 weeks now?
Oh,
we only get it a couple of days most.
That's it.
It's weird though, right? Because like when you get a couple of days, they're like really beautiful days. And then it just all turns to absolute shit.
Yeah, that's what we've been going through a bit at the moment. Just like, always just have your stand-up paddleboard on hand if you have to get anywhere.
Like if ever there was a time to build an ark, it's now.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so this week we're doing like a bit of a review. So like the other week was Siam2Sydney. We'll talk about your fight. We caught up a little bit on the hardcore promotions that were last night from there. And then, we got Hugo sent some questions. And we'll answer some questions.
Thank you for your questions. I'll be really nice to all of you.
As much as you can, anyway. All right, let's go into Siam2Sydney straight off the bat. Let's go straight into your fight. So you and Jamie Alleyne went after it again. It's in the books. Jamie Alleyne got the decision in the end there. Take us how you felt throughout the fight, though.
Okay, so this was, I'd say, like a very, very different fight to the first time we fought. Felt a little bit, I don't know, like Jamie fought, he fought a very smart opening couple of rounds. Like
he was willing to sit back a lot this time.
Yeah, sat back a lot on the ropes and didn't really lead with his boxing, which is what kind of I think you'd probably know from him a little bit more. He was quite confidently putting his left kick out and he did quite a good job of sort of making me chase him in those early rounds. And I was quite, I don't know, I started quite slow and I felt I think he disrupted me quite well. I think maybe I was a little bit maybe just too content to watch. Round 1 and round 2 I was comfortable. I did feel comfortable. He tricked me with a couple of kicks. Landed them quite clean. I thought come round 3, I guess I thought that's quite traditional cadence. I started to pick not even so much pick the pace up, but just sort of start to land with a little bit more authority in round 3. I felt like I was starting to turn that momentum come the 3rd round. Started to land my right kick to the leg and the body, which sort of ended up being what I was going back for. I think, look, I thought it was a pretty good fight. Like I thought it was a good.
Overall, it was like entertaining. It was like there was a narrative being built.
Yeah.
Until from the 1st round to the 5th round.
Nice fight technically, and I started to counter the left kick as it came across, like with some. I started to just break the rhythm a little bit. I caught his kick and started to engage with some sort of jump knee and just kind of surprise him a little bit and break that just changed the rhythm of the fight, which created some more openings for me. Also started to on my right hand down the pipe. A couple of times, just as that, like I say, I started a little bit slow, but I had a good read of what was going on especially round 4 and round 5. I had just a couple of answers to that left kick, and then I think round 4, I really started to feel very comfortable, and early round 5 as well. I thought that, round 4 I cut him. Then I could start to feel, where in the early goings of the fight, he was playing off the back foot, I started to feel he was relenting more so. I think the aesthetic of that, the directions were the same, but the aesthetic was quite different. I could see kind of his him exhibiting some pain and tiredness, but he was not. He was still answering back very well and still making it kind of difficult to come in. But I started to feel quite firmly in control late 4th, early 5th round, and I think most observers would probably agree with that. A really good high action, high energy fifth round, and I think I was getting the better of those exchanges with kind of power right kicks.
Yeah. Was it right at the end where you it was almost like that Max Holloway moment? You both just go, yep, right here.
Yeah.
It was fun. After each other. It was fun.
Yeah. I landed that's when I switched it up a little bit, and I landed a couple of, in that ending salvo, I ended a couple of big unanswered left kicks in a row. Then closed with, again, getting back to the right kick. Felt quite good there. I knew it was super close. I think 1 and 2 were more Jamie's way. 4 and 5 were more my way.
And I guess a swing round in the third.
Swing round, I suppose, was the third, and they went with him. So that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Going into this fight, did you have a similar thing as you talked about with the Corey fight? Trying to really, slow yourself down the first early goings. And and carried on to this fight as well. Just having that bit of time to have a little bit more look and then pick up your pace from round 3 all the way to 5th.
Look, I try not to talk too much about. I don't know. I try to be reasonably transparent about kind of what's going on with the fights that people who listen here. And I'm not unhappy with how this fight went, and I think if you're watching it, it's a tough pill to swallow to win against Jamie a little under a year ago, change as much as I've changed in my training and my approach, and then really feel like I'm on the right track, and then lose against the same guy. It can be quite disheartening. And to be honest, I had a bit of a tough time with it for a couple of days. Just about fuck, am I really going in the right direction and stuff like that? But then in re-watching the fight, I feel like it's obviously I always want to win, but you can read beyond the direct result, and a lot of the things that I've needed to do for a long time I've started to do. I feel I don't know, one of the things that I've been working on the last year especially is having to be honest with myself and acknowledge that for a long time I didn't get any better. And even that, I was maybe not being I was in a little bit of denial about. And look, I was getting better because I was always fighting, and that will make you better, and always analysing and thinking. But I kind of settled into this role where I was fit, and I was tough, and that on its own is difficult for a large percentage of people to deal with. I'm not going to go away. I'm going to throw a massively high amount of output. Probably not going to get tired first, and that was kind of a role that I settled into. And I did think as I entered that higher bracket, it started to get figured out a little bit. I needed to learn to not win fights by just outdoing the other side, and start to win the chess match. And of course, I guess in this instance, I didn't win the chess match. I need to take my output down and my meaningful output up, and that has been a little bit of just relaxing a little bit and not going crazy from the first second of the fight, and starting to show that I can win with my read and my timing and my eye, and land meaningful, powerful techniques. And if you look at sort of round 4, round 5 of this fight, I think that's what I was doing. I was finding my spot. I was engaging based off of what I had seen from Jamie early in the fight. I think there's a lot of really good signs for my stylistic development. And I think in Muay Thai and in combat sports in general, a lot of people don't have the courage to, maybe courage is the wrong word, and just kind of building on this idea on the spot, is to actually throw all their old shit out. Right, and start to rebuild. And that's what Aram and I started doing less than a year ago, so it's not been that long. And I see the style that I want, the style that I need to develop coming together. But sometimes you look at a situation where okay, I could just go back to doing my old shit, and it might help me here, but it's not going to help me for the fights beyond this one. And I think a lot of professional fighters, they have their thing and they never veer away from it, because sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And that's I am really kind of in a position where I'm fighting at times again. In combat sports, I believe it is harder to unlearn and to relearn than it is to learn. I think that's kind of my take. And that's what I'm doing right now is I'm starting to be like, okay, ignore the temptation to do what is comfortable and do what is an investment in making you better overall. And I know I am getting better now and getting better in this kind of newer style, but like it's not all going to come together at once. I'm still putting it together. That's kind of my take in like kind of rewatching and reflecting on this fight. I think it was a very, very close fight. Yeah, like when they were going to the cards, I was there, you know, hoping to have my hand raised.
Yeah.
I knew it was close, but I don't think I got outclassed. And also I can see that it's starting to come together. It's just like I've never been a quick learner, but I'm driven and I'm committed. So that'll, you know, I'm piecing things together. It wasn't, there's more steps to take, but I do in rewatching, I think I'm on the right track. I'm settling into, I'm starting to put something together. And I've got a lot of fights on the books now. It's good. We can have hopefully we can have an active year this year. And I think you'll see. I'm not unhappy with my performance. And like I said, I was a little bit down after this one initially, but I'm not one to, I don't know when it's done what, like I can waste my energy living that over and over and over again. And I've been guilty of that in the past, but what does it change?
No, the results already kind of set in. The
changes nothing. Yeah. So,
and like if you look at the two fights as well, like vastly different fights.
Very, very different. And Jamie impressed me. I really like Jamie.
Jamie like him a lot. It's like, you think it for a bit, like, you know, a little bit of a slide. He's getting older from him, and then just comes out, puts out like something completely different than I've ever seen.
That impressed me because, like, I make my jokes about Jamie being old, but like he came out in this fight and he did some different shit. He did some really, really different shit, and I actually think this was like one of the best stylistic performances I've seen from Jamie. Like looking at it from the outside, he fought very smart and technical. So it's impressive to see a guy who's been, you know, fighting the best guys around Australia for a long time now, or fighting the best guys, still kind of be able to come out and switch his shit and address. And he fought a good, smart fight. He played the game he needed to play early. I'm impressed by that, and really the same when it comes to like, how do you want to use your energy? Like, be inspired by that because I got to change some shit now, and I'll go and change it.
That's it, and definitely going to do a third time.
I mean, yeah,
it's like just down the line for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm never in. Like, yeah, I want it. Of course, I want the trilogy. I mean, like there were two really good fights.
Yeah.
It would be a shame not to do a third time. Do rounds.
Of course. It's like, you know, 11, both the fights were like so entertaining in different ways as well. And like, I think like that third time you got so much ring experience for each other. Then it's like, it'd be interesting to see like, okay, all right, this is the third time we got so much information on each other. Like, you know, all right, let's see how this one pans out.
Yeah.
Training towards it.
And it's the kind of fight that makes for a good series because we fought twice now and they were completely different fights. I think we're both, we have some similarities, I guess. Like, I think we're both like quite technical. You know, very, very different stylistic kind of archetypes, but some sort of similar. We're both thinking fighters, and you know, both from good Thai style camps. I don't know what you would. I don't think it would be obvious what you have to expect from a third fight. But like, I'm never in a hurry to do anything. You know, I'd like both of us to go and fight other people. I know that's what I got next. I'm sure he's got something on the books too. And then, yeah, let's build it a little bit and let's do it again. I don't know, whenever. I'm always always around.
We'll just make a date every year. Just like, it'll be the O'Donnell and Allen Cup.
Once a year, Jamie and I and Lyndon and Barky.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, why not? All right, let's go for this. The rest of the card from here. Put it up very quickly. So, I'll just go like chronological order that happened.
Yeah.
So like, I remember straight off the top of my head, Linton, Walton versus Andrew Flossie.
Shock at this. I was like, quite surprised.
Out the gate, like, you know, it's like, you know, Flossie came in, like went for the clinch and found some really good elbows off of that.
Yeah, he landed at, what is this, spinning elbow?
Yep.
Yeah, he seemed to break through Lyndon's guard once early.
And but then there was a quick turnaround. Like Lyndon started finding his left hand in particular.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of pulled it on.
Smooth and down the barrel, and I think maybe Flossie got or Andrew got maybe a little elbow happy and kind of trying to crush that range again. Because I think Flossie landed that elbow that kind of woke Lyndon up a little bit, like stung him a bit, and then Lyndon elbowed him right back. And then it just became that like somewhat desperate, like trying to charge it. Like it was becoming an elbow war.
Yeah.
Whereas then like Lyndon kind of sat himself to the ropes and anticipated that entry to crush the space and tagged him once. And then it was just like rapid fire left hands, eh?
Just barrage. He just kind of smelled the blood in the water and just wanted to get him out of there in that round.
Which looked, I've never seen Lyndon like really sit down on his hands and use them a lot. He was more of a punch into clinch.
Yeah, punch the clinch, punch the kick.
Yeah, but he sort of sat back and sniped with it a little bit.
Well, it shows that he's got good power when he actually sits down on it. And
it was nice. It was nice. And maybe, I know Lyndon had that break and he's come back fighting a little bit heavier. Maybe a bit of a healthier weight for him. He's throwing a bit more power.
Yeah, definitely.
Perhaps.
Maybe so. It's like throwing with so much power, he broke his hand doing it. So.
Yeah, he did too, eh? Yeah.
Way it goes.
That's why it goes. Yeah, maybe the power's there, maybe the
hands just go, I got to know what to do with this.
Yeah. Unlucky, Lyndon. I hope you recover from that well.
Definitely.
But still, it could be, you'd rather, you got to have your hand in a cast. You want it off a first round KO win.
Just go, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, you'll take it, I'm sure. Yeah, well done, Lyndon. That was good.
Yeah, it was a good one. So I had the women's match on there. So Katie Mitchell versus Anne Thatcher.
Controversy.
I was getting Kai ready, so I didn't see much of the fight, and I haven't watched it back either. You've watched it back though. There seemed to be like a lot of hustle and bustle after this fight about the decision.
Little bit, eh? There was a bit of that on this night.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon.
Yeah, look. Okay.
I was like, okay, all right. Where should I start?
I'm just struggling to organize my thoughts on this one because this was a difficult fight to score because not a lot of scoring was done. That is the best way that I can put that. And I'm not feeling particularly clever today, so I'm trying to be articulate for once. I think, okay, so I know that Annie Thatcher is more of an MMA stylist. She has quite a lot of amateur MMA experience, and I think that can influence the way that people look at a fight before it even starts. But I think if I was watching this and I had no context on who either side was, I would ask, is she come from an MMA gym or does she have a little bit? Because her game was very clean, like sort of low clinch oriented. Okay. Like she was pressing forward to kind of lock at that clinch. And I felt that it was that style of clinching that's a little bit more wrestling centric, which like if you're a crossover MMA fighter into Muay Thai, that's probably going to be a weapon that you'll look to use to kind of adapt your clinch. Clinching is quite similar to Greco-Roman wrestling. In some ways, with knees and elbows. But I felt that she was doing what she wanted to do in a lot of ways. Like she was pushing Katie around the ring a lot and pushing her into the ropes. And from what I can see, I think it was a little bit more geared towards like a cage control kind of mentality. Like she was kind of pushing Katie into the ropes, and there was only like kind of a couple of adjustments I would have like if I was in the corner, I would have been calling for like when you're on that body lock, lift it up a little bit higher and really arc some knees in and start to make some, because I felt that the sort of intention in a lot of ways was kind of just to control Katie, which is that can show some strength and it can kind of serve as a little bit of a tiebreaker, but as like a primary score, it's not doing that much. As rounds wore on, she showed some strength and there were some displays of kind of dominance out of that clinch. Like she dumped Katie off the body like a couple of times.
Yep.
And then when they would split to the outside, Katie would throw strikes, but just that forward pressure did kind of take a little bit of the balance and the power out of Katie's work. And a lot of what she was doing was she was dealing with that clinching pressure and trying to kind of just barrage elbows, like throwing a lot of those kind of elbows over the top as Annie was coming in. And then towards the back end of a couple of rounds, Kay started to kick off the back foot. And I think what this became was, from the judge's perspective, like I think it was kind of hard to score who did the more effective Muay Thai techniques. In that Katie was striking a lot on the back foot, but wasn't displaying a lot of effect. Like she was kind of needed to maneuver away from that clinching pressure, make some space and land and really demonstrate that she was pushing Annie back. But then there were long periods of time that the clinches were probably controlled by Annie, but still somewhat of like a null scoring situation. There's not heaps happening, bar a few dumps. I saw a lot of people make an argument that, look, it's just like which philosophy you scored this through. Like, if you're looking at this fight to pick a winner, are you going for, there was not a lot of striking done effectively by either side, but Katie did more of it, you know, throwing those kicks, knees and elbows off the back foot, or are you scoring the strength and dominance? I think off of kind of the dumps and the way that Katie did appear to lose her in-ring posture to those clinch exchanges, as in when they would separate, she seemed to fall back quite tired and seemed to not have as much power on her strikes. I think I saw a lot of people on the outside say that Annie should have won the decision, and I think there's a pretty good argument for that. However, I think you have to acknowledge that this was quite a low scoring bout, and that sometimes when we're talking about judging, you don't, in the event that there is not a lot of scoring done, you don't have to give more weight to low scoring elements of the round. I'm not sure if that makes sense in the idea that I'm trying to put forward. It makes sense to me when I watch a fight and score it, but I'm not sure if I'm communicating that very well. That if you look at a fight and no one did a whole lot of anything, you don't have to start reaching down the barrel and overweighting what did happen. You can just acknowledge that not a lot of scoring was done. And then, of course, you've got to look at, okay, not a lot of scoring was done, but where were the scores? And then it can just be a matter of one or two moments. And I think more than anything, in situations where we're crying, we have to acknowledge, was this just a really, really close fight? And I think this was a close fight, and it wasn't a close fight because they went hammer and tong. It was a close fight because maybe approaches need to be adjusted to tell a scoring story a little bit more. And that was probably where, and it was a close fight because there was a lot of time where there was nothing that you would call a clean score.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
But it was good. Like, it was, I think, disappointing that with so many pullouts on this card, we were only left with one female fight. And like, I think there's a lot of interesting points. Like, I reckon Annie coming up from Melbourne as an MMA stylist to fight Muay Thai is sick. Like, I really respect people who are willing to go out of their way to gain some combat experience elsewhere and challenge themselves like that.
Yeah.
I liked that. I chatted to her in the back, and she's really, really cool. It was nice to meet her and her team. I think Katie is showing a lot of improvement since shifting over to Reece Saliba's new gym. Yeah, Machete Muay Thai. I'm interested to watch what comes next from her, because I can see her developing a little bit more of a Thai style. And starting to really, like, because she's so long and she's very physically imposing. Just playing that kind of efficient power game for her enhancing her clinching, and I see her throwing more elbows now. I think she will be a force to be reckoned with. I know Reese would be a very intelligent trainer, so I'm sure. And like I talk about for my own fight, I'm sure for her that's a process of unlearning and rebuilding a little bit. So I'm sure she's in a little bit of transition period as she gets used to that. And I'm excited to see, especially now that she's in the pros. Now that she's in the pros, I think there's some big fights for her. I haven't seen Zoe Paturak fight in a while.
Yeah, what was that? Well, I think she's lined up for boxing in April.
Yeah, she used to. So maybe I don't know if she's made the transition, but maybe there's fights. There's fights.
Well, well, I guess especially for someone's Zoe's levels from there, she's kind of gone through a lot of them already.
A lot.
Yeah, but yeah, if you got Katie Mitchell on the scene, which she's kind of called out Zoe at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't been paying attention. When was that? Recently?
Yeah, like a little while ago, saying I'm hitting the pros from here, and yeah, would like to dance with Zoe pretty soon.
Okay, Katie, we're on the same page.
Yeah,
love it.
Get it? Why not?
Yeah, I like it. It's I think there's big fights for Katie, and she's like I said, she's quite an impressive athlete. I think she will do well, and I think
it's great to see her with the pros.
Yeah, so cool fight.
Awesome. All right, so next up on the docket, so we had Kai Wee Jones versus Daniel Talk from Muay. So Kai's from my gym, and yeah, like this one, we took this like compared to the other fights from there, we just knew it was going to be a more solid opponent.
Yeah,
going in, and yeah, and as you know as well, like your opponent will dictate like how your training goes, but like you always train hard, but when you actually notice like it's this is like it's going to be a really solid fight.
Yeah.
It kind of lifts you up a bit more. It's like you do that little bit of extra stuff that you might not notice before. Like when you're like finding someone's like, that kind of guy. It's just what's available at the moment from there. But yeah, Kai looked really good in this. He was actually probably just a little bit taller than Daniel. And both of those boys are really tall for their divisions.
Long guys, yeah.
Daniel had a great showing against Reese just very recently.
Yeah, December.
Yeah, and then but how this fight went, it's like Kai worked his teeth very, very nicely, kept the distance, and then as soon as the distance kind of closed, a lot of this fight was spent in the clinch. Kai had was just on top of framing off, pushing Daniel's head away, working the knees. We kind of saw that opportunity. Like, well, if your hand's already there, might as well elbow him as well. And that's the only really adjustment we kind of made in the second and third round. It's just like, he's not really addressing your right arm. Like, throw the elbow.
Yeah, elbowed well.
Yeah, it came across really good.
Clinch positioning was really good. Made space where he needed to.
Yeah, and like, give Daniel's a tough kid, man.
Tough, yeah.
It's absolutely tough kid. And I could expect him to keep going on and just build from the experience from there and see him back in the ring again.
Yeah, good showing for Kai, and like we said, he not through his own fault had some walkover fights, like a number of kind of walkovers in a row. Someone from Kieran's gym is always going to be pretty tough. And we saw Daniel fight, put on a really good performance in his pro debut against Reese. So a good way for Kai to kind of show everyone where he's at and impress a little bit. Yep,
and he'll be back on in May. Yeah, and just keep building on and keep getting solid bouts. All right. Let's get to it. Let's unravel this one. All right. So we're in the main event. Okay. So Abu Salih, Ibby versus Tuck ended up in a points decision to Ibby. Now, okay. This was the fight of the night in terms of how much discourse,
how much controversy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everyone's talking about a couple fights before, and then Ibby and Tuck come out like, just wait a second.
Yeah, just hold my beer. Yeah. Now, so when I was watching this fight live, I in the front row because I was going, I want to watch this fight. This is going to be an awesome fight.
Yeah.
And straight after your fight, so I go, yep, I'll stick around and watch it from there. Tuck looked really fucking good.
Really good.
It was just so smooth. His kick was just on money. Position was good. Ibby itself, he looked. I think he was he looked slightly bigger than.
He was a bit bigger. I think Tuck is probably like a 55er. Kind of fighting up at 57.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ibby been doing his,
been a few of those.
He's a good size 57.
Getting on the protein.
Yeah.
I just felt like Ibby was kind of scrambling a little bit for a lot of this fight, because Tuck's positioning was just so good. He was getting with some good shots as well, but I just always felt that Tuck was a little bit on top of the situation most of the time, controlling where the kind of fight was going, opposed to like maybe the last round. But like maybe Tuck just goes, oh, I think I got this, and kind of just kind of took his foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, which was pretty fair assessment.
and like we were saying from there, like all these as we always talk about, like definitely nothing against Ibby. It's like Ibby's did a great
I say
fight.
every time I bring Ibby up, he's like my favorite fighter in Australia. He's sick.
Mm-hmm. But like but in this case, from there, when the decision was read out, I was actually kind of dumbstruck.
Yeah,
like okay, really? Maybe that's like maybe I was watching the wrong fight, or I wasn't paying attention to what was actually happening.
Maybe I was fucking watching the TV and I saw a completely different fight. That's the one. Like, yeah. I don't know.
So you got to watch it. So like Untitled, and I got to watch it as well from there. But what do you reckon of your thoughts on it?
I don't know. I'm always apprehensive to say. I don't know. I'm involved in the officials community. I have lots of friends in Muay Thai. It can be difficult to come out and be like, that was a jank-ass decision. And, these things, it's difficult, right? Because the last time Ibby fought, he really handily... He's Captain Controversy, right?
He's had a few, right? He's had a few.
So, I get it. Like, Ibby was on the raw end of this exact situation back in December on Rebellion. Right? He won very clearly in a fight that was not that close.
No.
And didn't get the nod. And then this time he comes out, it's hard. But I think in the interest of just developing the sport, you've got to call these, because there were rounds of this fight where it's like, if you gave that to Ibby, you don't know what you're looking at. Right? And that's how, and there were closer rounds, but Took was very soundly in control of this fight. Ibby had a better fifth, but like you say, you also have to take into account, because Took was still landing well. He had just lowered his output in that fifth round. And I think, I don't know, I was very confused by a lot of the responses to this fight, because I just think the way that, the differential in power when the two would kick, like when Took kicked across, and the way that he was landing some of his kicks, so, across Ibby's back, he would catch Ibby, with an arm down, and when Ibby would press in, the way that Took would just close him off, land some knees and just close him off and really render him unable to get anything going. I think possibly it's an example of people only seeing a pressure direction. But again, context has to play a role in how you officiate, in that Ibby's probably chasing because he knows Took has landed more points, and that demeanor is something that you can read into. But
I can even imagine in Ibby's corner, you got Andrew, you got Chock, you got Singh, where they'll be probably in the rounds go, fuck, man, we got to try and get after this a bit.
And fair play to Ibby, he did get after it. He really dug deep and had a good push, especially in that fifth round. He wouldn't want to go home without the win, and it was a great fight in that regard. But I do feel Took copped it here.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way as well.
But it's not just a matter of who won and who lost. As we say, it's we have to look at why anyone scored this fight and went,
Well, it's also because involved with the R&J community in New South Wales. From there, we try to put ourselves a standard of practice that we try to be better than most states. Really,
I make no bones about that. It's New South Wales is one of the best officiating states, but that doesn't mean we never gonna fuck up.
Yep.
And also, it means we have to stay. We have to hold this standard by being this decision was not. I don't know. I think people are too worried about each other's feelings sometimes. In that, we don't want and I'm not talking about the fighters either. It's the people that are doing it. We don't want to be you got to be it's accountability, right? If I put forward a scorecard and you think it's bogus, sit me down and say this scorecard is bogus, because I'm not trying to do it wrong. right? So
Yeah.
let's work it out. Let's figure out, because I think the general standard we have is really good, and we're very, very, very lucky to have Elias here. And that's one of the reasons that we have come along so well, because he's a genius. But like, I also still see some decisions when they get read out and I'm like, but how? How? And then sometimes you even get like all three judges score it away and you're like, I don't think so. But that just means like, sometimes you got to acknowledge that sometimes people have off nights, and that's every field, and that's every occupation, and that's just being a human being.
But I guess like something like this, where like a couple like throughout the night, and it's like you're seeing scorecards going, it's like that. I think someone's having an off night tonight, but like but still has to be kind of addressed. So you can't just go, well, we had an off night, but it's more so one of those ones where like you got to get together and just go, all right, come on guys, like we got to look at this a little bit more. It doesn't like I've heard the same thing, like where it's like it doesn't look like we're learning from the same teacher.
Yes, and like I don't want to quote anyone directly on this, but like in a lot of, it's just that like the idea that is coming out is like, okay, some of you are clearly not watching this through the correct lens. Like that is your philosophy on why this was scored a certain way or whatever is enough to tell me you need to rethink what constitutes a scoring moment. And that's not me saying you're a fucking idiot. That's me saying there is some room to be further educated here, and this is how we're all going to do a better job. And that's just what we need to do. Because sometimes I think as well, like, before I ever said, I think I could go and start learning how to judge, I'd watched like thousands of fights, right? Like, I watched a lot of fights in my life. That's probably going to surprise you. I sometimes think people need to be like, there's training and stuff like that, but then there's like, have you done an adequate amount of have you just gathered enough intel before you've put your hand up to judge? I think that can be. As a community, we got to start watching a lot of fights from everywhere and watch high-end close fights. Like sometimes amateur fights are really easy to score because one dude's just fitter than the other and he kicks the shit out of him. Go and watch like a high-end stadium fight where it's just going to come down to a couple of moments in one round.
Yeah.
And start to produce a card and let that go. Do your study at home, because yes, we need to think about how we educate our officials. Yes. And we're doing a good job of that. There's always rooms to improve, but we are doing a good job of that overall. But we also, as people who want to officiate, I don't know, I just think like, are you watching tons and tons of Muay Thai? And if you're not, why do you want to be? Well, it's like, comes back to that same thing. Like, okay, like I don't have like kids or a social life and shit, so like, I don't have time to watch a lot of Muay Thai. But I'm sure everyone has time. Can you watch one fight per day? Takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right, and then sit down with a scorecard and then, or watch one championship tonight.
Yeah, what was it?
Just keep a scorecard.
Watch David Penelope versus you.
What's that? You don't watch that. You're a Hmong anyway.
Yeah. Was it a little ritual I've been getting to? Like, try to find too much, but I got a little Friday morning, which was like a space between clients from there. Put the Petch and D show that was on the night before.
Yeah.
And just score those most of those fights, and then like main event I don't score because I'm just gonna watch it because I just want to enjoy this one.
Yeah.
But like, that's been pretty good. It's like, and like, man, there's so many shows available that's free on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like pick a fight like you don't know anyone even.
They have no vested interest in and no storyline associated. And that's what the Thailand fights are so good.
Yeah.
You can just watch. There's so many fights on that you don't know any background.
Yes.
Well, I don't anyway. That you can just be watching it from a neutral position. You won't be able to understand the commentary.
Yeah, you can't be
Well, that's my car, and maybe we have some Thai speakers listening. But you can still watch it with that proper broadcast quality. You can hear impact and stuff like that, and then start to see. And then I'm sure you can find someone who knows what they're talking about to have a look at your scorecard and watch the fight and see what you thought. That's like, I don't know. We all just need to establish and work with a qualified mentor, but also just put in the work on our own.
Yes.
And learn to make decisions and hold yourself accountable for them, because that's what I also think. People want to learn, but you won't start learning until you start saying, here's how I scored this fight, and you'll get it wrong.
Yeah,
you get it wrong. That's fine. But I think maybe as a collective we need to just think about just how we watch and engage with Muay Thai, because this is what ruins the sport, in my opinion, is just collectively viewing it through the wrong lens and not because the athletes have to fight to how the sport is governed, and then that's how you start to see true Muay Thai kind of get eroded away and watered down.
Well, you can just see from different states, like, you see how they scored, and that's how the fighters play to.
Yeah, and then fair play. We all want to win. We're competitors, but for me as a fan, I want to see real Muay Thai develop, and I want to develop a real Muay Thai style for myself. But I don't want to have to be like, oh, okay, these judges are boxing judges, which is not what we have here. But you know what I mean? Like, you hear this shit, like, oh,
of course.
This was my style, but I realized the judges like punches more. So I started to, that's what kills Muay Thai.
Exactly.
And waters it down. But,
yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So it was tricky and a good fight from both sides. A great fight and a great event, but maybe showing the signs that it's time to take inventory of our...
Tighten the reins a bit.
Yeah.
Score some fights together.
Yeah. And just fucking accountability. Let's see who can really score and who can't.
Fair. All right, so that's the Siam2Sydney card. That was good.
Great event. Thank you.
Shout out to Mr. Rebellion and Beck for jumping.
Yeah, they were good, huh?
I liked it.
Yeah,
I really liked it. Good combination.
Yeah, credit.
when your boy's fighting, you can't commentate.
No, I'm glad the viewers were not subject to myself for once.
A solo.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I like to see more people.
Well, like, from there, like, if in future, if you're not matched up on Siam2Sydney, at least you might have some broadcast partners in the future. I
think. I mean, I don't know. Like, I know when to step away if Si's in town.
Yeah,
he can take my seat. I know when. I understand how the hierarchy works. Yeah, but I would like to commentate with Beck.
Yeah,
I think that would be cool.
I think she did a really good job.
I think she did really, really well.
It's good fun.
I'm looking forward to hearing her do a bit more.
Ooh, yes. Let's go. Let's breeze a little bit over the hardcore stuff, and then we'll go into the questions from there.
Okay, can we start with the motorbikes?
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck was that?
I don't hate it though. It's like the motorbike entrance.
Yeah, but like, what the fuck are you putting out into the fucking, like, you're in the ring? Yeah, I've been to that venue. It's not massive.
I think
carbon fucking monoxide.
Yeah, I just think about like in this. Like, how do you do it in there? I don't know what the rules are down in Victoria, but like it definitely would not fly.
I think how and I think why.
Yeah, so if you don't know, if you're talking about like the entrance, it's like we're charioted in on a motorcycle to the ring.
Yeah, both sides.
And
Elias sent me a message during that saying that would never fly in New South Wales. They're not wearing helmets.
That's amazing. It's like, just for the crowd. Yeah, whatever. It's good times. All right. So, Hardcore Promotions was on in Victoria last night. Pretty good show.
Good showing from. I didn't get to see the whole lot.
Yeah,
I was. I got onto it probably like 4 fights before the end, so I'm still catching up on the New South Wales guys. But I know Andy's boy Damaki got the win.
Yep,
I heard he was really good. I haven't watched it. Yeah,
I watched it from there. Like, same thing, just had to skim through a film to just get an idea. But yeah, Tamaki looked good. Like, and that's the first time ever fighting in Australia this season. Yeah. So, but like he looks like a good product.
Awesome. Yeah, keen to see him fight again.
Had the return of Hugh Davis and his pro debut.
Yeah, he's looking solid these days, aren't he?
Yeah, he is actually. But he put it down a good performance in that. Like just kept walking forward and just like crowding his opponent, Keelan. Took a good win. Who else was in here? Michael Zelensky. I was just watching it before you came in from there versus Ferros. A lot of that clinch, like, was it Ferros? Like, tall dude.
Tall guy, yeah.
Really tall. Michael, like, just sneaking through. Like, he just, like, I guess you're more veteran savvy. Like, when it says up on I think he said it had like 4 fights, but he's obviously had a lot more than that. But I think they're going off his pro record. Yeah. But like, just little veteran things, like, just taking the scores and blocking out. Ferros at times. Did really good.
Yeah, and he'd been fighting at such a high level. Like his last fight was Tuck. Making shit up. So,
was it Tuck? Well, I know he fought Tuck very recently though. Yeah.
This December.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Am I forgetting someone else?
Raylan from Machete.
Yes.
That's the other New South Wales.
Yep. Recently was out there with him. Against Connor from Cowboy.
He's good.
Man, it was a good clinch.
Yeah, he's really good.
Really solid clincher, right?
They must know what they're doing in the clincher, Cowboy.
What's the secret?
Funny that.
but yeah, very strong showing by Connor. Actually.
Yeah, I think he's pretty highly touted. He's really good.
Hey, I'll be watching it from now on if I see his name on a card, definitely for sure. And I think that might be it from the New South Wales team.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay.
And did you see the pickup? You see,
no,
they sent a fucking limo for the.
Oh yeah. Nice.
That was dope.
Might have to get on this hardcore.
Yeah, for real.
I like it. I like the whole vibe.
Yeah, and it was a nicely presented show actually. It worked really well.
Definitely. So
I started watching that Tomlinson and Fam.
Oh yeah, I'll watch that fight. Yeah, action fight.
Action fight. Yeah, like I hadn't seen Tomlinson in a while. I think maybe he hasn't fought since the other side of.
Yeah, man. I had Matt Williams in the corner.
Yeah, he looked real solid. Like I don't know if it was. What did it say? What weight this was at?
Looking at here, it says 63.5.
That's a little bigger for him.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I think he fought. Remember, he had that really good fight against Don Miller's boy, Tom Cannon.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that was at 57.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you did look at a place of this way. Like you see, Khan Farm was like a fair bit taller.
But he looks solid. But it's been a while since I've seen him, and I know we call him Kid Ink.
Yeah.
And he look a little bigger now. When does he become Manning? That's the transformation that I saw since I'd last seen him fight.
When he gets over the 70 kilo marks, have to wear bigger gloves.
Yeah. But no, this was a mad fight, good action fight. I always liked Tomlinson. He's fun to watch. Fight. Good power.
Yeah.
Fucking wicked work rate.
Oh
yeah,
and you expect that from little fellas, wouldn't you? So, well, the smaller weight class.
See, like I don't know if this is going to be his preferred weight or if he'll drop back down to sort of more that 61 kind of place.
Yeah.
Good fights for him there though. And Kwang, I think was significantly less experienced, if I'm not mistaken. And looked good and started to play a very good shutdown game in the middle part of this fight. Like was landing some really nice left kicks over Tomlinson's arms, but Tomlinson was just savvy enough to, even when he got scored on, he always just gave a bit back and never really let Kwang stay comfortable. Yeah, that was a really fun fight. I don't know why it was 5-2.
Yeah, I was just looking at it then. Like,
I don't understand.
I don't. Yeah,
but it was fun.
I don't know. But yeah, it was still fun though. All right. Did you get to see Zach Anderson? This is
mad fight.
Is it Q?
Yo, did you watch this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was good.
I won't give you trivia then. I didn't know Q was 40.
I actually saw Marsing's post. He goes, "Hey, it's good to be like 40, 42 or something like that, and still kicking it."
Oh, he looks younger than me.
Yeah, man. Asian don't raise me. He's jacked.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he's 40. But he's obviously it's not like he's like one of these dudes that's still jumping in for a go and he's coming in smooth and not in shape and just
I'm just
survive. Because it's also like he's not one of these like laid back, I don't need to be fit, I'm going to survive off my IQ types. Like he's a walk forward knee fighter. He's a walk forward knee stylist.
I really like this fight.
This was a good fight. Zach's a goer.
Yeah.
I really like watching Zach fight. And he fought a strong fight. Actually, I will call out how good is it that WA can come out again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Too bad his corner couldn't come out, but...
Yeah, but it's good.
Shout out to Pinky for jumping in.
Yeah. Mad respect. Pinky doing everything last night at commentary. Corner work. But it's really cool that we can... It's a big gap in national Muay Thai if WA are locked out. So good to see. And this was actually Riddler's Gym's first interstate fighter since this whole shit kicked off.
No, okay. Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
no,
interesting. And I believe he was also their last one. Yeah.
Zach liked to travel.
Yeah, but he had a mad performance, some big sweeps.
Yep.
But just Q a little bit too strong in those clinches for the most part.
Yeah, in the most part. It's like you just said knee power. The difference.
Old man strength.
Got it, man.
But even just even the control strength, like the way that if Hugh got a hand on the back of Zach's head, it was a boom.
Yeah.
Could just pull him down to the floor. But yeah, Zach is just he's impossible to deter. Like, because he was still there strong, like, and actually had like a really nice third round. But Q just stayed on him, landed those big, the step up sort of left knees.
Yeah, no knees, and like had a really accurate left kick game as well.
Left kick was good too. Yeah, this was a good fight. This was maybe the fight of the night.
Yeah, if you got it, man, watch it back. It was a great fight.
Good fight.
I didn't get around to seeing the state title.
I did watch this. I don't have too much to like. I haven't sat down and like done a scorecard or something. I just breezed it live. It was getting quite late at this point. We wasted time on an auction. It was a good fight. Like Solomon, just much more active, and kind of was landing some. He's quite unorthodox. He landed some good punches. He was kind of just keeping the pace too high for Corey early. Corey had like a really good third round where I felt he established like a much stronger clinch game than Solomon, but then struggled to get back to it through the fourth and into the fifth. Solomon, it was a close one. It went split points and Solomon stuck it. I'll have to give it another look. I think the go-to for the broomstick would have been get into that clinch.
Yeah. Well, he seemed like a fair bit bigger.
Yeah, he's real. I think they said in the Telltale he's 180 centimeters, 63.5 kilos.
63. Oh,
yeah, so
it's too tall for that.
A broomstick. Truly. Maybe a little bit better suited to that weight than because he was fighting at 67. Had that 2-fight series with Carter Lawrence. Yeah. High pace fight. Very unorthodox showing from Solomon. We'll have to give back and give that one a closer look.
Fair. So speaking of Carter Lawrence, we go to the main event of the night. So Carter Lawrence from Dominance Gym was versing Yodthongchai, or also known as Joe.
And easy to say.
Yes. I'm going to go with Joe. From SRG. This was kind of like an interesting one in terms of like, I don't feel like the fight really started till like the 4th, 5th round, if it kind of like really kicked off.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like this is just one of those fights where this is one of the better technical performances I've seen from Joe.
Joe looked good.
Since he's been in Australia. He established the kicks early, and it was always just a matter of he was only ever going to do what he had to do.
Yeah.
He was being efficient. I don't think, like, for me, I feel like if I'm Joe looking across at Carter, I'm like, I want to get in and do what I got to do and then get the fuck out. Because this dude is so tall. And I don't think he wanted to be kind of tangled up with him. But like just a very, very kick-centric game. Footwork was really interesting to watch, just the way that
he kept like that little kind of skip up in the distance, make it look like he's kicking.
Yeah, that tricky kind of, those like that feinting a lot with his feet. Yeah, that's like kind of like more of a step up left kick than a conventional switch kick. And then his exits were really nice, like the way he kind of just slide out of range for the much taller and much longer Carter used a speed advantage.
Yeah.
Which, just recognize that he was the smaller, quicker man.
Faster, yeah.
Yeah, it landed those kicks, like really welted up Carter's body a lot. And then 3 and 4 were big high damage kind of rounds, started to trip Carter a lot.
Yeah, it did a lot, like where you think of reversing the clinch, but he did very well in the clinch.
Yeah. I mean, like Carter showed like some moments of real strength when they could clinch up. I just think he didn't have the positional control to keep Joe there.
Yeah.
So, like, he had one, like, really solid, very strong takedown out of the clinch, and I was interested to see how he could. I feel like, if he's won his fight, being such a big guy for that weight, he probably wants to make Joe carry him around a little bit and fight more than he wants to fight. And then, like, I think Joe's probably biggest advantage here was he never had to fight at a pace he didn't want to fight at. Like, he controlled the rhythm and the tempo of this fight. And took a pretty classy points win in the end.
Yeah, it was really nice. With Carter now, like from there, 2 draws and a loss. From there, do you feel like he like mess around with Mike? Sorry, but like sometimes like his output's a little bit lower than it should be at times. Like he could it doesn't mean like he has to throw the catch and gate, but like in those kind of early rounds, he could take a few more scores.
Yeah,
in place, like just kind of, especially when you had a few draws, you go, maybe I just need to like just cinch a few rounds.
Yeah,
early going.
Yeah.
It's like looking at Carter from there, there's like lots of potential, and like his big right kick, clinching game is pretty good.
Yeah.
overall.
And built to clinch, definitely.
Built for clinch. Yeah. Very tall. Would going upper weight division suit him as well? Because this one was 68. He usually does 67.
His last two have been at 68. The last one at 67 was against Darren. If I'm not mistaken, he just slightly missed weight for that.
Okay.
Fight. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm more in favour of guys actually just picking a weight class. So 68's a bit in between.
Yeah.
He's fucking massive.
He's fucking big.
Massive.
He's big.
So, like, he wouldn't lose anything from just starting to cut a little bit less weight and thicken up a little bit. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what he walks around at, or it could just be one of those dudes that's just naturally super lean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested. He's like, I think he's one of those guys that, given his frame size, he's got a lot of options. Because he's not going to be small. Or like, fucking just bulk up to heavyweight if you wanted.
Yeah, pretty much.
So like, he can kind of take his pick and just do what's going to be best. For his body and his longevity as well. Of course. But yeah, like a pretty tough run of fights, Darren.
Yeah, solid. It's like really kind of testing those upper waters now.
Which is good. Yeah, and getting
to.
up in experience now, like 17 or 18 fights. So
yeah, that's fair. And like, same thing. Like, look forward to see him in the ring again.
Yeah, definitely.
That one and see where he can work it from.
Keen for Joe's next fight as well.
Oh yeah, that should be a good one.
Yeah, I think him and two is a really good match.
Yeah, on Yokao, Lewis and the boys are running a show again, so like that'd be great. That's a great So was it at the moment the main events? Yeah, 2 and Joe, which is solid. Good fight,
and especially looking at Joe's kind of form yesterday, I'm really looking forward to that fight.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that's the Hardcore Promotions show from there. That we just recapped, and now we go to questions.
Okay,
let's do some questions.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for sending me your questions. Much appreciated.
Well, it's like he hasn't. He hasn't gone over me the questions, so this is going to be a total surprise. And I just swear I like it.
Oh yeah, we didn't pre-run these questions. I'm skipping some of them. Sorry. So some of them I got to skip, but I could maybe come back to like just on my own Instagram or something.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, let's kick off with this one. What needs to be done for greater grassroots adoption of Muay Thai?
Like overall, or like just in the state?
That's the question. I would just say we would treat that. Like, I mean, I feel like to me, this is like an interesting wording of the question. Grassroots adoption. So I suppose I mean like participation rate. Yeah,
if what's going to get more compared to other sports?
Yeah, what's going to get more people involved? It's an interesting one. I think it's one we talk about quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think what needs to be done. I mean, it's an interesting way. I think a lot of what needs to be done is being done.
And I feel like you always got to look back at it like what it was like 5 years ago, especially in New South Wales. It's grown exponentially.
Yeah, the growth has been big and it's been fast. I think like when it comes to so grassroots adoption is an interesting topic because I mean like I think it's interesting that you look at Muay Thai. If you're looking at it's grassroots, you're probably in a lot of time looking at the young,
juniors,
like the kids and the juniors, and like Muay Thai is probably it's a much more prevalent professional sport than a lot of other striking kind of martial arts. Like a taekwondo or a karate, but they actually have much higher rates of participation at a grassroots level. So I think we need to look at. Because our sport's better. We need to look at like how do we take Muay Thai and not water it down, but adopt a model that allows people that lowers the barrier for entry.
Yeah.
So like I think
it more achievable.
Yeah, and I think for a long time, so I think people approach this the wrong way. Okay. Right? They're like, okay, let's make it similar. I'm going to start giving the kids black belts. That ain't it. That ain't it. I think what's been an issue in us coming into so like when a kid goes and does taekwondo, again, one of the reasons it's so appealing is because the 10-year-old can go and get a black belt.
Yeah.
That's why parents want their kids in there because it's that gratification thing in you. Gyms can come up with grading systems for kids.
Yep.
Also, we talked about this a lot, but also I think it's that a parent is comfortable allowing a young kid to go and compete in taekwondo. Whereas, do we have an equivalent? We're starting to now, but in the past, I feel we didn't have an equivalent that parents could comfortably let their kids approach Muay Thai as a community sport. It was like you only had that sort of professional format. It was fighting rather than it was martial arts. And that's what we're starting to figure out is allowing kids to develop and test their skills in a safe way. And also for kids, this is the other important thing. It has to be safe, but it has to be fun.
Of course.
And like not all kids want to fight. Like when you look at kids at like Taekwondo comps, they're fucking around. As they should be because they're kids.
Yes.
And like maybe fucking around might be the wrong term, but they're there to just have a go. And like I think for a long time in Muay Thai, there wasn't an opportunity to like just have a go. Yeah. Like you had to be fighting in the ISL and waiting until you were old enough. And that warmed people off.
It does. Like just doing a lot of the junior stuff as well. Like, trying to adapt it every event, and it's getting there. But yeah, totally agree with like like fuck, go to a BJJ comp, see how many people are there. Yeah, it is so many. It's heaps of mats going as well, which is like kind of like I see Darren Reese when he does that. Like he's got like there's the matches of mats going through. Yeah, and that's what I want to get to as well. Some like at the moment from it's like it's building. I see little things where parents get too caught up like it is a fight. They then probably went to like the adult fights and things like that, and like like luckily enough there isn't too much derogatory stuff there, but it's like even like just too like just top aggressive. Yeah, but it's also like whatever. It's also like trainers doing it wrong though. Yes. My kid won. It was an automatic draw. Yeah, but he won. He won though. That's not what it's about, right? Exactly. Because like I think we have to. Okay, so like what I would kind of summarize that point in is lower the barrier for entry. Yes. Like make it something that you can try. Because this is also the thing. I think in Muay Thai, sometimes you find great fighters and they never set out to be great fighters. They wanted to just have a go. And they catch the bug. And that's what we want, people to catch the bug. And you don't know. The more you can let people dip their toes in the sport, the more people that you're going to find. But I think like for a long time it was like you couldn't dip your toes in Muay Thai. You had to jump in head first. So I'd say lower the barrier for entry and like actually bring people in. And the other point I think is grassroots adoption of Muay Thai is educate. And that's what we've been talking about here. I think a lot of the way I still go to a lot of what I'd call grassroots shows and people leave gone, man, I fucking hate Muay Thai scoring. It makes no sense. And that always hurts me because I'm like, actually, it makes perfect sense. You just don't get you just don't get it. Because I don't blame people because they go to a show and their mate says, I'm fighting Muay Thai, you should come watch. And they've never seen Muay Thai. Maybe they've watched other more accessible combat sports and they've just gone, that scoring made no sense. And it's like, okay, but what resource did they have as a first time viewer of Muay Thai? And I talk to people a lot. We need to play a video at the start of the show. Okay, most shows don't have a screen. Play a video. Hey, would you mind pulling this up on YouTube on your phone? Yeah. But like, I don't know, maybe we need to. At the end of the day, I also find like I talked to Nugget about how at Evolution they had Elias Ryder scoring guide and they were on the seats, and that's a cool idea. But that's pretty cool. I also think it's very easy to explain how the scoring works, but you have to watch a lot of fights and take a vested interest to get it. So like it's not as simple as that, but I think like educate people as to what scores and what doesn't and what's, and then you get like people in the crowd. Like there's nothing better than being at a show and like someone lands a big straight knee and breaks their opponent's posture and the whole crowd goes nuts because they know that was a big moment. And a good, close technical battle is so much more fun when the crowd understand how the momentum is shifting. Like that's sick. And I got that a lot like when I was down in Melbourne at Rebellion. Like I felt like the crowd got what was going on. Like when you go out during a fight, they understood when it was a big scoring or someone gets on the back in the clinch and starts winging knees in and the whole crowd starts going crazy because they know the odds are tipping the other way. That's fun. So I think lower the barrier for entry and then educate crowds so they can understand what real Muay Thai is and they can actually, involvement is key. Allow people to be involved. And on the involvement side, it's like I've always felt like sometimes in Muay Thai we've let clicks come about. And like, you know, I've been to Thailand for this long and that's why I'm smart and everyone else is dumb. And like,
as a sport, if we want to grow, we don't need to make everyone who's trying to get involved feel like they're just dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Educate and then like just let people come and get involved. And we're getting better at that for sure. Is just like, if you know a lot, great, teach, help. Don't just be like, fuck, you're all idiots. I'm smart.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think like my keys for grassroots adoption of Muay Thai is lower the barrier for entry, educate, and like foster involvement. And then with that, like encourage community.
Of course.
Right? Like,
yeah. It's like, yeah. I think that's what the those development days and junior days, John. I don't keep fucking harping on about it, but it's like, it's true, because like even with those ones, we try and get people involved to start learning, like, you know, just how to do judging and reffing. People that actually, like, you know, got their kids involved, they actually want to like be part of the sport, so they kind of get guided into it a bit as well. And like, yeah, and it's like always looking for volunteers with like, they have good hearts and like, you know, and passionate about the sport.
and that's a good point. I'll finish on one more. What is needed? Everyone get involved, right? Because I've always I've made this point. I know I've given this speech before, but like, support the sport of Muay Thai, and everyone who's involved in Muay Thai says they support it. But how do you support it? Do you support it by fighting when it's your turn to fight? I know how many times I said it. Leave me alone. That's not you supporting Muay Thai.
That's it.
That's Muay Thai supporting you, because someone matched your fight. Someone put on the show. Someone had to ref it. Someone had to judge it. There was a doctor ringside. Someone had to pay for all of the aforementioned. You just showed up and did what you enjoy doing. The guy who's supporting Muay Thai is the one who's fucking packing up the chairs at the end.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
the one who's gone to training and then hung around at the gym to set up for the development day. Bands. Like, that's supporting the sport of Muay Thai, and I think we all should be given more. I know we can't treat our relationship with Muay Thai as so like transactional. Like, I show up to the gym and I go home. Okay, but what are you doing to actually look around and be like, this could be better, but how? And that's, I think that's the system.
Yep.
Improving grassroots adoption of Muay Thai. And also just understanding that, like, it's not going to blow up in one day.
No.
As much as
It's
we'd like to do.
years.
It's community sports. We have to, you know, we're trying to expand our niche, not actually jump into the mainstream.
Yep.
Because we have to be achievable.
All right. Next
question. Matt Lucas says, how good is vegan food in Australia? Now, I'm not going to answer this in detail because I think you figured it out.
I've been in a few carrots.
I think it's all right. I think it's all right. I told him we eat kangaroo and he was disgusted.
Oh,
Like, kangaroo is really good.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's,
It's good for you.
You ever ate a wombat before?
Sorry, I didn't make
I
it.
don't know. Go to more, if you're in Sydney, maybe the Newtown area.
Yeah, I'll take you in Newtown, Matt Lucas.
Yeah.
Okay. Should all fights build you up equally? Okay, you got to word your questions better. I'm gonna reword this question. Okay. Should all fights build you up equally, or should up and comers just fight everyone? This is a good question. I'll be a worded boy. So how I interpret this question is, should you be looking to matchmake your fighters in like a building blocks kind of sense, or should you just throw them in against anyone? And I will answer. Well, you're a trainer, I'm not. I'll give my take on it, and then I'll be interested to get your thoughts. I don't think it's that black and white.
It's a lot of variables.
I think it's like we talked about with Kieran the other week on the whole like fighters fight bullshit about like you should just jump. And like, how many fighters have you seen where like the mentality was like he fights everyone and he's way overmatched going into fights that he has no business in, and like, you know, just take some serious damage in his career that, like, you know, didn't really need to take. I think my take on this is I think fighters should step up, but that doesn't mean fighters should just take ridiculous fights and fight everyone. Like, I think there's a lot of particular matchmaking about like, my boys had 2 fights and yours has had 4. We can't do that. Can we not? Especially at that stage in your career, like that's silly. But then I think there comes a point where if you've got a guy and he's had 15 fights, he's probably got to be ready for anyone. 15, you know, 15 pro fights or whatever. He's probably got to be ready for anyone. And that's where you got to be like, if he's not, you have to ask yourself as a trainer why, rather than being like, oh, he can't fight him yet. Timing is important. Like, I don't think you should take fights, you know, like if you're not in a position to fight in a couple of weeks, just say, no, I'm not. You know, I'm not healthier, I'm not fitter, I'm not whatever. I think amateurs and early career fighters will develop more from fighting as much as they can. But there's a lot of appropriate matches. Like, I don't think it's fair to say. I mean, the question was up and comers. I assume that means like early career fighters. You don't necessarily like taking a big step up is often admirable, but if you really had no business in there and you take a beating as a result, it's like, did that develop your career? Sometimes yes, oftentimes no. So I think there's a way to build up fighters. You should encourage gaining experience early in fighters. Like, I fought a lot in my first kind of 2 years of fighting. But it's not like I was jumping. Like, I often fought guys that were more experienced and I stepped up when the opportunity presented itself. But it's not like, chasing down opportunities to go and fight overmatched fights or jumping into the top end when you have no business there. It's kind of my take on it. Should you fight anyone? I mean, to answer the question like in the simple way it was asked, I don't think there's an expectation of I should just fight anyone that's offered. But then that gets into other things like why are certain fights being offered? What's the benefit to the more experienced party? But yeah, it's
a bit weird at times. But like, it's like same thing. Like in amateurs, I think like if you're going to look at that end of it, like you're going to have like 0 to 5. Yeah, you can bash them together, that's fine. And then as soon as you get after that, then it's whatever. I kind of feel for amateurs.
Yeah.
And then when you get to pros, from there, like however you look at it, like resetting the record, or you just kind of different states as well, like have different ideas on doing it. But like but the same thing, like I think like there is those kind of levels of like the B class and A class, and you just gotta be realistic of where you sit, especially when you start off from there. And like you like and know the scene, know who's in your division, and then you kind of get these build up fights. Like I said before, like there's been fights where you take where you just go, oh, fuck, I just don't want him to sit on the shelf after all this time, and just take it. And then you always try and look for those little step ups that make sense. Like like if got offered like an A class fight to like someone that I know is like purely B class, like I'll be most of the time not taking it.
Yeah.
Because like it's just one of those ones, especially because like if you're just gonna get bashed for the sake of getting bashed and saying like, oh, he's a tough guy and he takes on anyone, I just don't see the benefit in it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like, I don't know, sometimes it'd be just mentally destroying to people.
Yeah, it can shorten careers.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just like, it's being involved enough that what your division is or divisions are around, knowing the people in there, knowing the levels, and being realistic of knowing the level of your fighter.
Yeah.
And playing to accordingly. Like little steps up's fine. Like more like bigger steps up's okay as well. But I try not to look at like obviously people at the top go, yeah, we'll fight them when they're clearly not ready.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's heaps that gain from experience like that.
Agree. Look, I got asked. The question was just. I'm not going to answer this in detail. I mean, like, I don't know. It's not that I don't want to. It's just timeliness. Rod Tongue versus Mighty Mouse. I guess.
Well, that's on today, isn't it?
Yeah. My thoughts. Who I think is going to win. Like I don't care. And like I've been having this conversation a lot. I'm like, I don't care. And people are like, oh, don't be like that. It's cool.
Don't watch Rod Tang versus Mighty Mouse when you can watch Nongo and. Like,
I mean, it's on the like. Look, am I gonna? And people are like, you're gonna watch it? Yeah, like that's not saying much.
But it's like I'm not going out of my way to watch.
Like I won't be watching that like tonight when it's on. I'll watch it tomorrow. I assume you just wanted a winner, but I just talk a lot. I like this is the thing with this fight. It got announced, and I was never super keen on it. I don't think it should not happen. I was never super keen on it, and also it got pushed back a bunch of times to the point where now I actually just don't care.
But it's a very one thing to do as well.
And like, look, weird for the sake of weird is cool. I hope Rod Tongue like lands something. Like has a strong showing. Like I think that's probably the best case scenario. Is like Rod Tongue kind of like rattles DJ and pushes him hard, at least for the first round, and then
it's like I don't see him like absolutely deading DJ in the first round, but.
Because the other thing with Rod Tang is like he's a high IQ fighter, but he's not a great sort of ring cutter. Like he's never been great at close, and then that's
Just
where
very
like
straight lines.
that kind of makes it in the surface area that they're fighting in. It's not. I don't see it as being super hard for DJ to just disengage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's only even point talking about this. It's over by the time any of you hear this. But yeah, look, my thoughts on it is I don't care. Sorry.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's just do one more because I didn't realize the time.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. No, I'll breeze through two in 2 seconds.
Sure.
Trophies straight to the gym or the pool room. I've never been one to put my trophies in the gym because I have a lot of them, and that's like not saying that's not because I've achieved so much. It's because like they're not hard to come by. I take the trophy. Look, honestly, I've left a lot of trophies behind. I actually think we need to do less trophies.
Yeah, definitely.
It's wasteful.
I've never been one to hang up belts or trophies as well. Plus, I don't have anyone to hang them either.
Yeah,
but
it's just Clutter in the gym.
I always thought it was just the fighters thing as well. So it's like it's yours. You take it.
I got some random ones as well. I have some.
Yeah, it's absolutely random.
Why is it okay to ask for a refund for my show but not a concert? I already answered this directly because Ticketek is an honest Australian retailer and Andrew Parnham is a crook.
Take it.
If you buy a ticket to a fight show, no, you cannot have a refund. I think I mean, it's been discussed actually a lot, but I think I think it's because like it's often facilitated by like your friend. It doesn't feel like you're doing business with a big corporation. But like if you buy a ticket to something and you change your mind, that's not a valid reason. Nope. Like that's just you being fucking dumb.
Oh, it's on the Muaythai hours they said someone came up because I missed my guy's fight and he's there. He goes, can I get a refund for my ticket?
That's you being dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's not
mate, don't reproduce. Whoever you were. not the question asking, but the guy who asked that question at Siam2Sydney.
Yeah, that's dumb. This is sort of an interesting one. Why many? Okay, so the question was why many Thai purist trainers in Australia don't have their fighters cross compete in K1. I feel like you kind of answered the question in the question. Like if you're a purist Thai, I feel like there's often an idea that like Muay Thai and K1 are just like same, like just do both. But
one doesn't have clinch.
Yeah, if you are a purist Thai trainer, as the question asked, it's because you don't do K1.
That's it.
I agree. Like most gyms could.
It might as well. It's a totally different sport, really.
Yeah, like a lot of gyms could jump over, and most do. And I think like oftentimes you can be close-minded if you're like, no way will I fight kickboxing. Because you're probably locking yourself out of opportunities. But what I would say is my answer to that question is if they are purist Thai gyms, as you ask, and they not, especially if they're like a clinch heavy style and they like to score the points and they're not a particular, like, aggressive, kind of hands focused Muay Thai gyms, of course, can transition no problem. Some gyms that have a truly Thai style will struggle to adapt. And if it's not, the answer is because it's not their game. Yeah. That's, I think, how I would answer that question. And also, like, how much K1 is there?
Man, unless you get invites to actually, like, Japan.
Yeah, like there's international ops, and I think like if you want to go overseas, you should be open to fighting kickboxing. Of
course.
But yeah, like it's not like you're locking yourself out of heaps not doing K1 in Australia. There's not that much pro K1. There's some. There's some like
there's few and far between.
But yeah, it's not like there's the next weekend. Like there's much more Muay Thai.
Yeah, and like I guess going into that question as well, like watch a Muay Thai fight and watch Muay Thai fights and watch K1 fights and notice there's the different pacing. And like, it's like,
it's really different. It's chalk and cheese. Like when I was an amateur, like the style that I fought and like my approach, it was like the same. I just had to remember not to elbow. But now I understand that it's like, it's chalk and cheese. And that's not to say I'll never fight kick. I'm sure I will fight kickboxing. Hey. I haven't fought kickboxing in a long time, but I'm well open to it.
Yep.
And, I like it too. It's fun. It lets you do different things and it's a different kind of challenge, but there's not that much. And let's, I'm going to cut this question in half. Pros, cons of stance switching in training. That's a good question. What I would say to this is that my philosophy on it is stance switching can be an incredible tool in fights. It's often done not so well, but if you can proficiently use your tools in two stances, that can be very difficult for your opponent. But the question was in training. And I find that very interesting because I think there's a lot of benefit to practicing out of two stances, not as a balance and coordination exercise. Like if you're drilling something repeatedly, you can get a lot from practicing it also in southpaw. Not necessarily to do that when you spar, just to balance yourself out and work on. I like that. I really like to, when I'm slowing things down, especially if I'm on the bag, I like it in bag work. Just do something X number of times, orthodox, and then switch and do it in southpaw. Just because it's good. Like, even if you're not one to, I like to fuck around in southpaw sometimes. I got some things I like to do there, and I like to move in a couple little things, not like a time bite here and there, but I think it's also like you can watch the way that sitting it's almost like when you have to be that little bit more conscious and do things in your uncomfortable stance, it makes you more conscious of your movements, and then that can help you shore up weaknesses because you act almost purely off of instinct and habit in your comfortable stance. So to kind of refresh it and have to think more consciously, I think can clean you up a little bit, make you more mindful. So that's my thoughts. That was a good pack of questions.
Yeah, actually, that was all right.
Thank you guys.
Good on you guys for stepping up your game.
Yeah, and I was really nice about all of them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's a positive in itself.
I'm getting better.
All right, guys, we'll end it there. So thanks for listening again. Catch us next week. I think we're speaking to Jay Tonkin next week.
The Dingo.
Ooh, that'd be nice for his upcoming match on Eruption coming soon.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good time.
I want to know what the deal is with them training in a garage.
Oh, of course, the question has to be.
That's a good garage, though.
It is. That's a pretty hot garage, that one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But other than that, remember, follow us on Instagram, share and like this episode on Spotify. Yep, make sure you can go and review us on there. So please do.
You can do reviews on Spotify now. Yep. I gave us 5 stars and we went to average 5 stars.
Yeah. All right, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.